Blows without borders. Coming at you live from across 3 continents. Philly to Fort Hayes, Troy, and Neil. Let's do this.
Welcome to Bulls Without Borders. We're here for Red Summit 32. And although the intro video did say Hayes and Neil, they are both not able to make it today, but that's okay because we've got a great recurring guest with us. He is the ClutchPoints Associate Sports Editor. He is a Chicago Bulls beat reporter. He is the man himself, Zachary Draves. How are you doing today, Zach?
Doing pretty good. Good to be with you guys. And looking forward to what we have in store this evening.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm stoked to talk about some Bulls basketball. And then to my upper left, I've got my man out of Australia. He's the front man out for the Whole Lotta Bull podcast. He's been doing some awesome stuff lately, having Hayes on as a guest, I think, once a week. Definitely go check out what he's doing. But I've got my man, Troy Wingate. I'm just going to use your full name. Why not? And how are you doing today, Troy?
I'm doing good. Philip Charles Bay heading the fourth.
There you go. Don't disrespect the suffix.
No, it's been a few chilly mornings over here down in Adelaide, but we are right in the middle of winter, so it is what it is.
So wild.
But it's nothing like Chicago winters where it's like snowing and we're 6 feet of snow, so I can't complain about that. So we're good. Unlike my mate Paddy down here, just when it gets below 15 degrees Celsius, it's too cold for him to get his ass out of bed. So hi, Pads.
Hi, Pads. But all right, so we've got a few topics that we're going to be working with today. I guess we'll just start off with the one that's on everybody's minds the most, I would say. Although I've got some strong opinions on it, and it is Summer League. So I believe we're wrapped up now. I don't think we have any more games, right? That's it.
No, we're done.
Okay. Done. Yeah, I mean, in the last game, we didn't really. It didn't. I mean, we played the Cavs, but none of our. Jalen Sellers is the only guy who has a chance to play any minutes for us that actually played in that game. But although I will say again, like Donovan Atwell played well again. I think he's pretty good. I would like to see him on a two-way. But anyways, I mean, we're talking two-way contracts here. Let's talk about the real players, the players that we drafted and the players that, obviously, I guess we drafted last year. Caleb Wilson, Dalen Swain, and Noah Essengay. So we'll go individually. We'll start off the episode with some positivity because there's nothing I don't think anybody can say that's negative about Caleb Wilson. I'm not going to even preface the question. I'm just going to say this. Zach, talk to me about Caleb freaking Wilson, man. Happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Caleb.
Yes, happy birthday, Caleb, if he comes across this. Hopefully he does, and we can get him on the podcast.
Oh, my God.
That'd be sweet.
Just putting it out there, speak it into existence. We can see what happens. You never know. Anything's possible. But, I mean, the way you just described him or created a middle name for him right there, Philip, is perfectly encapsulate what he's doing right now. I mean, Magic Johnson once talked about the ability to over-deliver in reference to him as a businessman. I think that definition actually is applicable right now to Caleb Wilson because he over-delivered when it came to his Summer League performance. I mean, you can't argue with his impact. I mean, he came in ready to make an impact, and he already did make an impact. And obviously, we can't judge the sum total of his capabilities by the Summer League, but nevertheless, just the Summer League games alone are a sign of what is expected and everything that we expect Caleb Wilson to be or hope for him to be as this generational talent. I mean, the starting off with the first game against Memphis, 35 points and 6 to 7 3-pointers, and he was just lights out. Yeah, 7 3-pointers, and he took command just flourishing, to say the least. And then, against the Utah Jazz, he had that emphatic dunk, the tomahawk dunk that was kind of a combination of John Starks and Dwight Howard almost a little bit. And then, he bested himself, or at least tried to best himself with that dunk against the Lakers in transition. Good lob from Jalen Sellers, found himself wide open, and then he just threw it down with the two-handed slammer. And then also I wrote a story about this for ClutchPoints. It was against the Jazz where they mic'd him up and he was communicating with Jalen Sellers and with others on the floor about, switching on defense or anticipating what the next play was going to be. And on the bench, he was, being that vocal leader. So honestly, he is one of a kind. He's a once in a generation talent, part of one of the most illustrious draft classes that we've seen in recent memory in terms of the NBA. So, I mean, the best is yet to come as far as Caleb Wilson is concerned.
Man, I mean, dude, he was just phenomenal. I mean, just the way that he stepped on the court and off the bat. I mean, I think first possession knocks down a three, second possession knocks down a baseline jumper like it was nothing. I mean, just for a guy who said he was like nervous as hell before the game, like I think he said he even might have cried before the first game.
Yep.
Yep. He I mean, you didn't see that at all. He seems like somebody who is very emotional, but is shout out to our cancers out there. We are emotional, but he's able to really hone that in and really bottle it up and put it all towards his opponent, which is it's not an easy task. Some people, that are emotional in that way, like that affects their play in a negative fashion. But for him, it feels like it fuels him. I was super impressed. Troy, talk to me about your boy.
Man, like this kid is coming out to show why I was so hyped about him. Like right from the get-go, I'm like, okay, this kid's got some Kevin Garnett about him. Now, am I saying he's going to be Kevin Garnett?
I'm just saying, like, our fellow host isn't going to like that you said that.
Well, and Hayes. Yeah, Hayes said in his video today, like he's got the Kevin Garnett traits, which is basically what I'm getting at. He's got some Kevin Garnett traits. Ultimately, I'm hoping that Caleb Wilson is going to be a greater player than Kevin Garnett. Now, that is a very high bar to get to because Kevin Garnett is one of the greats of this game. But that's ultimately the hope that I personally have for Caleb. But, Caleb, like you said, Phil, that the first game, it comes out against Memphis, pulls up three. He's taken on Cedric Coward, no fear whatsoever. Like he goes up against him. There was that one play where he was feeling him. Like you can definitely see he was feeling himself, and you feel like he's going to pull up for a three, but then he takes a dribble, and then step back 3-pointer on Cedric Coward. And then the other game where these other games where he's shown his explosive athleticism, that dunk, like the tomahawk dunk, which I said something about, which I got a little bit flame for because I'm one of those people that unless you actually touch the ring, I don't consider it a dunk. But hey, that's just my personal view. But hey, it was still spectacular nonetheless.
Well, that's a hell of a layup. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's a hell of a powerful layup. We'll say that. But hey, for the sake of the argument, yeah, it was a spectacular dunk. The other one where, in the game against the Lakers where, Cameron Carr's coming up to try and stop him, and then Cameron Carr just makes a last-second business decision to get the hell out of the way because, Caleb's throwing that thing down with full. But the things that we saw offensively from Caleb, as spectacular as they were, there were some things that he did defensively that were just as spectacular, if in not some ways more spectacular, because we saw a couple of times there where he did something dumb offensively, like turn the ball over, like a behind the back pass, or just over dribbled it and got it stripped, and he comes down with these crazy chase down blocks. So, I think it was that one against the Lakers where Tiro, where he's able to handle the ball, Tiro's stripped it from him, and then Caleb's just gone, nah, you're not having this one, and just comes away and swats it away and brings the ball back up again. So Caleb showing a lot of great stuff that, we can see that in the future, this kid is going to be absolute superstar. Not just a star, superstar. Can't wait.
Okay.
The future's bright. Where's my sunglasses? Because the future's bright.
Okay. Yeah, dude. I'm super just enthralled by Caleb Wilson and what he brings to the Bulls and what he just immediately does for our organization. I will say that there's like I don't know. We'll talk about some of the side effects of this happening, or just kind of his arrival and how how good he's been off the bat, and how that's kind of just caused some reflection on others that I don't think is very fair. But I overall his arrival just kind of signifies that the Bulls are back, in my opinion. Like we're relevant again. Whether or not we were relevant coming into the this draft, I guess, is debatable. I would say we pretty much weren't. I mean, we haven't won a playoff game in forever. We we're kind of like a punching bag as far as like tapped in reporters around the league. Like they'd get on ESPN and kind of laugh at the Bulls and like, oh yeah, what are they doing? They kind of suck. I don't think you could do that anymore. I think the Bulls are very much for real. Based on the fact, we had guys already in the wings like Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis, but now you add Caleb Wilson to that, and things are going to get serious pretty quickly. I'd like to know, before we move off of Caleb Wilson, what do you guys think he could do this season as far as statistical performance? Zach, I'd like to, you don't have to, I guess, you can give like a range. Like, what do you think he's capable of in his rookie year?
I mean, honestly, the sky's the limit for the guy. I mean, he is, full of potential. He has so many different skill sets that are unparalleled, to say the least. I mean, he could obviously score in the paint. He can score in transition, and he's proven himself to be capable so far from the 3-point line, which is obviously tailor-made for the Bulls' style of play, especially when you have Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis on both on the left side and the right side. And I can just picture them both in transit, all three of them in transition. Like you got Caleb at the other end of the floor, getting the rebound, pushing it up the tempo. He's got Matas on one side, Giddey on the other, and there's no telling what they can do. And if anything, he's going to compel them to be better. Even though Giddey is now establishing himself as a veteran and Matas is obviously still in, his growth stage, entering his third year in the league, Caleb is going to compel them to step up their game and to be better and to be able to keep up with him, because obviously there's going to be so much emphasis on his game. And so honestly, in terms of, what kind of numbers he's going to put up, I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you, but I think he's going to make a big splash right from the jump, just as much as he did during the summer league. And he's already hinted at that. I mean, he was asked after one of the games this week if he's planning on taking any time off to rest, to prepare for the season. But he's like, no, or actually, he didn't say it like that. He said, hell no. So he's like, I'm ready to get back into the gym. I'm going to work on my game. And that really goes to show that this is somebody who has a tremendous work ethic and also a tremendous sense of maturity with him that is far beyond his years, and something that is to be commendable, and something that certainly fans will be looking upon with such glee and with such praise. And to your point, Phil, as far as, people just kind of poo-pooing on the Bulls, for the last several years, and it's understandable why. But I think it's, the reason why, just the relevancy part of it. I mean, the Bulls have always been relevant just because it's the Bulls and it's a marquee franchise for obvious reasons. So there's always a certain amount of attention being brought to bear on the Bulls. But now, because they got Caleb Wilson in the mix and he's highly touted with so much potential, the Bulls are going to be a big draw this year, and we'll see how that all transpires. But for now, I think Bulls fans have every reason to feel optimistic.
Absolutely, man. I think it's the most optimistic time to be a Bulls fan since Derrick Rose. And you probably have to go all the way back to like before he tore his ACL, because after that it was full of pessimism, especially
right.
as he took longer and longer to get back. We were like, okay, this isn't going to be a normal recovery. And it wasn't, unfortunately. So it's been, I'm not sure exactly how many years. I want to say it's close to 15 though. Close to 15 years of just, spinning our tires in the mud. That's how it's felt. Troy, talk to me about what you think Caleb Wilson is capable of this season.
I mean, I think, he's going to be in contention of the rookie of the year. Like, I'm going to say that straight out the gate. Like, he thinks he's going to be, he wants rookie of the year. He thinks he's going to be there. And with the type of work ethic and attitude that this kid has, I can absolutely see him being right there in running for the Rookie of the Year. And I think what he's going to bring to this team, call this me being overly optimistic, but I think the Bulls might actually be a bit better this season than what some people are probably going to think we're going to be. And in terms of numbers, you probably look at around that, 15 points, 7, 8 rebounds, a couple assists, and a couple of stocks a game. Like and if he can shoot that at, if he can get his points at a, pretty good efficiency as well, like, hover around that, 48, 50% field goal percentage, shoot at least, at league average 35% from three. And then obviously, like, unlike what we saw in the summer league with the free throws, but if he can be better than his, 71% that he did at college, I mean, I don't see why he can't be right there in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Like, this kid is special. He is special. I can't wait. I'm excited. Come on, when does the season start? When's the schedule out? Come on, let's go. Let's go.
I know, right? It feels like that, and so I guess we're gonna Caleb Wilson is a lot of fun, and we could sit here and ponder on what he's gonna do for the Bulls forever. But there's some more subjects we should address, and they're not. Maybe a couple of them aren't nearly as fun, and one of them is let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that's Dalen Swain. Dalen Swain's summer league was not good, and a lot of people have taken to social media to make some pretty grand declarations about him already being a bust, that he was a second round talent, that he was that he's Patrick Williams 2.0, that a lot of things that people are saying after just summer league. I'll give my opinion, and it's going to be strong, but I'll let you guys go first. With the guest of honor, Zach, what do you think?
Give the kid some grace. It's summer league. Shake it off. He's going to have plenty of time to grow. I mean, summer league is just really sort of a testing ground, a stomping ground to see what you're capable of. And more so, it's an assessment of your strengths as well as your weaknesses. And I know we can, as you said, we can talk all day long about Caleb Wilson, but one other thing I'll say about Caleb Wilson is that, on the defensive side, he has shown some tendency to sort of be tricked into going for the pump fakes and jumping up in the air when trying to contest shots, or he could be he's shown flashes of communication and things of that nature in terms of being a leader and whatnot. But he does have a tendency to go for every shot that's up, going for the block, and that could result in getting him into foul trouble. So that's something that he needs to work on. So there's something for everyone to work on here. And the same goes true for Dalen Swain. I mean, he was brought to the Bulls for a reason. Again, he's a two-way player. He averaged, 17 points at Texas, and 7 rebounds a game, and he can shoot 50. He shot 50% or around, or a little bit more than 50% from the field at Texas. So they brought him on for a reason. He exudes that versatility that the Bulls are looking for, and he does have a good coach in Tiago Splitter, who is understanding of him, who is being flexible with him. I don't think he would have gotten that with Billy Donovan, because he's having really a player's coach in his corner and at his side. And it's just about getting a feel for things. It's just about getting adjusted to what it's going to be like experiencing the rigors of playing in the NBA. So yeah, just give the kids some grace, give them some time. The summer league is the summer league. It's just more so to see where the guys are at in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. And, like Troy is antsy about getting the season going, like extend that patience. We still got time before the season begins. So give Dalen Swain some patience and, see what happens.
Absolutely. What do you got, Troy?
Yeah, look. Okay, let me say this by saying this was my opinion based on his play in summer league. Summer league only, not what he did in college, not what he's going to do in the NBA. Summer league only. He was ass. He was, like, in my opinion, he was god awful in summer league. But, and that being said, it was only summer league. It was 1 week of basketball. I'm not going to judge a player's career which could be 10 to 15 years long, maybe longer. The way that some of these guys go now, it was 1 week of bad basketball, and that's all it is. Like, this kid is going to have to be like this for the next couple of years for us to go like, all right, we missed on that one. So, Dalen, I think he's going to be just fine. Like, we all know that he was getting there was an experiment of playing him at the point guard position in summer league, which is not his. It's not his strength
position. It's not his natural position.
Yeah, he's a shooting guard, small forward. Like, he combo between on the wing position there. He is not a point guard, and so to all those people who saw Tiago Splitter talking about he was going to experiment with playing Dalen Swain at the point guard, all of a sudden these people go, oh my God, Dalen Swain's going to be the next point guard. What's going to happen with Josh Giddey? It's time to trade Josh Giddey because Dalen Swain's going to take over the point guard. No, it was an experiment. And quite clearly, Dalen Swain based purely on summer league only, Dalen Swain cannot play point guard. Can he do some handling the ball as a secondary ball handler? Yes, absolutely. But point guard is not his strength. That's not a position. That's not what he's best at. Can he get better at that? Of course he can. He's just turned 21 years old. Of course he can get better. But I just want to see Dalen, now that he's going to be playing alongside a point guard in Josh Giddey, can't wait to see how that actually helps him become a better player at the NBA level as well. I'm not worried about Dalen Swain. He's going to have to take it at minimum the rookie season of trash play for me to be like, okay, did we miss on Dalen Swain, and should have we taken Cam Carr, which is the guy that I personally wanted at 15. But hey, until proven otherwise, Bryson Graham's got my trust, and I'm going to roll with Dalen Swain until proven otherwise.
Yeah, man. So I agree. He definitely did not play well. But here's my thing about, and there's a lot of people in my mentions that were, I went back and forth with some guys because a lot of people were just, again, like they're just like, their assessment is, well, Dalen Swain isn't good. He'll never be good. And I just think that's a ridiculous notion to have after Summer League. Is it possible that Dalen Swain doesn't work out? Yeah, man, it's possible. But like, we can't to make that. It will. I promise that whether he works out or not is not going to be dependent or a correlation from anything that happened in Summer League. I mean, like, just to quickly go through all of these reasons why this isn't normal NBA basketball. He's not playing with a bunch of teammates that are highly respected, so there's no spacing out there. Everybody's crashing down on everything that's coming into the lane because they're leaving everyone open outside. There's no team chemistry. They just started practicing like 5 days ago, and 90% of that roster is not going to play on the Chicago Bulls. They're not running any plays. Everything is very basic. There's basic schemes. They're not doing anything intricate. There's, he's being played out of position. There's just a bunch of reasons why. And again, like I've talked about this on Twitter, but like Derrick Rose had a bad summer league. He didn't even average 10 points, and he averaged like 4 turnovers a game, and it wasn't good. If we would have played this game back then, we would have all been like, oh my God, should we have taken Michael Beasley? And we all know how that ended up, right? Like, I just think it's ridiculous. All of the overreactions are so crazy. You can't play a summer league game anymore without someone trying to rush the judgment on you. And I know I just need to ignore it, but it's a bummer because I know that some of these guys do look at social media, and I don't feel like it's helpful when the fan base is crashing out. We haven't given him any room to fail or succeed yet. If we're half a season in and he's playing a certain kind of way and Cameron Carr is balling out, it'll be worth a discussion. But again, even then, we're looking like we're making these draft picks for how we think these guys are going to be in 3-4 years. We're not making them for how they look now. It's never how it is. But
especially in their first summer league.
Yes, and in today's world, everybody's so impatient. Everyone wants it now, and it's just that's not the way sports work. Sometimes the payoff is later. And again, can he is there a possibility he doesn't end up being the guy we thought he was? Sure, but we can't make that determination right now. And we're like what everyone should be saying is like, damn, I wish he would have played better. He definitely didn't play well. Hopefully he bounces back. That should be the line of thinking. But there's people that are going off the deep end, man. And for some people, it's about being right. Like they wanted Cameron Carr on draft day, so this has been their opportunity to stand on their chair and be like, "See, I was right. I was so right. You should have listened to me." And it's just not, I'm more of a fan of my basketball team than I care about being right. I will gladly be wrong in the name of whatever it is. I don't believe in Rob Dillingham, for example, but am I going to be, if he goes out and starts kicking ass and he wins the backup job and he's a formidable backup point guard, I'm going to stand up here and say I was wrong, and thank God I was. Like that's just the way it is. But unfortunately, not everybody's wired that way. So
yeah, more people should be willing to be wrong for the right reasons.
Yes. Right, and if they have the right intentions behind it, and like folks shouldn't get so bent out of shape over the number 15 pick in the draft, right? If it was reversed and, let's say Caleb Wilson didn't have a good summer league, then, there would be some cause for concern there, certainly because he was the number 4 pick and the Bulls got lucky in securing the number 4 pick, right? So there's something to be said about that, and the concern would be legitimate. But, Dalen Swain, number 15 pick, first round pick. Yes, he brings a lot of tangibles. Yes, he put up some really good numbers at Texas. And yes, when you are a first round pick, there's an added dimension of pressure and expectation being placed upon you because of that. But it's not like Dalen Swain is going to be the future of the franchise. Like you guys have said, we're going to see what happens as the season progresses. And if the numbers, convey what people have been saying or saying right now, as far as, him being a potential bust or him, not living up to expectations, then we can talk. And then you contrast that to Cameron Carr, which I can understand why folks would be perplexed as to why the Bulls didn't draft Cameron Carr. And if Cameron Carr is putting up staggering numbers as the season goes along, then we can talk. But they haven't played a game yet. And,
yes.
We'll just see what happens. And, as I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but just give him some grace and see what comes out of it.
Facts. I'm not ignorant. Like Cameron Carr had a great summer league. He looked good. But that being said, it's going to be a different game for him when he's in the NBA lineup. Like if he's on the floor with Luka, he don't have no green light, man. Like the green light will be if Luka passes him the ball. And so, I'm sure that I think Cameron Carr is going to be a good player in the league. Yeah, if
he passes him the ball.
I think Cameron Carr is going to be good, but I also think Dalen Swain's going to be good. So I urge patience. I do understand that probably it's a loud minority. That's how these things kind of work. Yeah. Like the people that are loudest tend not to be part of the majority. It's not the way, just people that are content and are willing to be patient are quiet. And they're just kind of waiting around, and so, it's just dealing with those who are very, very loud. That can be disheartening at times. But let's move on, and we could talk about someone else that I think the evaluation of his play has been all over the place online, and I'd like to know especially what you guys think. Noah Essengay. I'd like to know what you guys seen in Summer League. And again, we're going to note here that this is Summer League, right? But we're going to, talk about what we've seen in Summer League. What did you think of how he played, Zach?
He is on his way back to the G League as far as I'm concerned at this point, but not for rehabilitation purposes, but for developmental purposes. And I do got to give credit to Bryson Graham in terms of his approach to the G League as far as using it for what it should be there for, which is development. Because lately, what the Bulls have been doing, and this includes Noah, it's been sort of used as a rehabilitation, as a place for rehabilitation. Sort of like equating it to baseball where, guys who get hurt, they get sent back to the minor leagues, they get a rehab assignment and a rehab start. And, that determines whether or not they are recovering and are able to make it back to the major leagues. And the Bulls have kind of been treating the G League as that a little bit, as, more so as a place for rehabilitation than development. But after seeing, Noah in the summer league, I see him on his way back to the G League, and for good reason. He needs to learn how to control his body. He needs to improve his decision making, and he's got to clean up the turnovers, and he also has to clean up the fouls. I mean, he racked up, 7 fouls in 10 minutes during the summer league. Yeah. So, there was inconsistency at the offense, and, he's a work in progress. And obviously he hasn't played basketball in over a year after undergoing shoulder surgery. So he's not there yet. And it was obvious. So I think what's going to happen with him, or what's best for him, is for him to go back to the G League and to really emphasize his time there in the form of development as opposed to rehabilitation.
For sure. What are you thinking, Troy?
Yeah, I think Zach just hit everything on the nail on the head there. Like, Noah's going to be going back to the G League to actually get some actual development. The part I'll add on top of that, and it won't be much, is that, Noah, as Zach mentioned, had that shoulder surgery. Now, that shoulder surgery that we found out after, it's only a matter of a month or so ago, has actually been affecting him for the last 3 years. So I think it's also a part in that Noah is learning how to trust that shoulder again. Like, he's obviously trying to go through the mechanics of his shoulder and going, okay, my shoulder is okay now, and I can take the hits, and I can do this, and I can do that. But it's also just like, it's a lot of that mental side of it. Okay, can I do this? Like, okay, once you take that first hit, sometimes it's like, okay, all right, my shoulder feels okay. I'm all right here. But when you're like a 19-year-old kid who's been dealing with something for 3 years, and now you've just had surgery on it, that can play a big mental part in going and just learning how to trust it again. I mean, like, hell, I was in my 30s when I busted my ankle and I tore the ligaments in it, like the ATFL ligament. It took me quite a couple of months after I was actually cleared to do everything again to trust the ankle, because it's like, okay, that's the first time I've had an injury of that significance. How is my ankle going to respond to, trying to play basketball again? What if I step in a pothole? Like, is it automatically just going to turn on me, or is it going to be okay? Like, those mental things that you once you overcome those barriers, he'll be fine. But yeah, in terms of the basketball side of it, like, yeah, he's going to need to go back to the G League and get some development. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that at this stage. Like, that is totally fine, because like, we knew he was a project when we got him last year. He's still in that project stage because he did go through this injury in this surgery. So yeah, What he did show us, though, in Summer League was some glimpses of hope that he can be a versatile defender, and that he can be a disruptive defender as well. So there is something there that you can see with Noah. Is he going to be a focal point of the offense? No, he's not going to be. We don't need him to score 15, 20 points a game. Would that be nice? Absolutely, it would be. But if he can just be a disruptive defender, get on the boards, get out in transition, and just do the simple things, hey, Noah may just have a totally fine career. But yeah, he's got some work to do back in the G League.
Yeah, I have no problem with him going back to the G League. I guess so. So for me, there was just again a lot of people that were basically already kind of declaring that Noah was a nobody or a bust. I will say this, like, I was surprised by how many people disagreed with me on this. I never seen him as a guy, like, I never thought we drafted him to be the guy that was going to score 15 plus points a game, that was going to take like 10, 15, 20 shots a game. I know that he was the number 12 pick, but that's not how his profile came across to me. I always thought that he would be a defensive stopper. that his role would be like a guy that you throw in there to like a Lou Dort, a true defender 1 through 5 that can, really, throw a wrench into the opponent's offensive game plan. I thought I seen glimpses of that. I thought he played good defense in summer league. He definitely made too many fouls. Offensively, he's definitely got a lot of work to do. But yeah, I thought his defense was good. I thought he showed some glimpses of playing some really nice defense. And for me, like if he becomes, and this is the question I wanted to ask, if I know we drafted him 12th, right? If he just became a stud defender, but he was only averaging like 8 points a game, and he just didn't really do like that was his role. Like he was just strictly a one of the, an elite level defender. Would you see that 12th pick as being a wasted opportunity, or would you see that as being a good pick at that selection? Troy, what do you think?
That'd be totally fine for me. Like some people just tend to think because was technically a lottery pick that he needs to be a star player. Like no, he just needs to. At best, can we just hope that he will be a star in his role? Yes, I think that it is achievable for Noah. It's good. Yeah, like we said, it's going to take some work, but he can absolutely be a star player in his backup position role, and that's totally fine. And that's, not every single lottery pick turns into a star player. Like we've seen a lot of lottery picks just turn into okay role players. Well, we've seen, non-lottery players like in the first round or even second round picks turn into stars. Like Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson, Giannis was the 15th pick. Like these guys, not everyone who's a lottery pick. Ayo Dosunmu, he's a superstar role player. I wouldn't even call Ayo a star in his role. I'll call him a superstar in his role because I like Ayo that much as a player, and I wish he was still in Chicago. But that's neither here nor there. But no, there's nothing wrong with Noah averaging and being an 8 points per game player if his specific role and he stars in that role as being a defensive stopper, disruptor, get out on boards and transition. I'm good with that.
I love what you said about being a star in his role. I think that's I really like that phrase. What do you think, Zach?
I agree. I think it takes the pressure off of him to be all things to all people because, when you become a number 12 pick in the draft or a top 20 pick in the draft, you're supposed to become the cream of the crop. You're supposed to be the best of the best, or you're supposed to do everything. But Noah, when healthy, when he's confined to his role of being an elite defender and being a position player, that's when he is at his best. And like Troy said, he doesn't have to score 15 to 20 points per game. 8 to 10 roughly, maybe even 6 to 7 points per game would be enough for him. Just as long as he's crashing the boards, just as long as he's locking it down on the paint, just as long if he is able to go toe to toe against physical players, then he'll be good to go. And the one thing that I will say when it comes to Noah in terms of his development is he's got to learn more. He's got to be able to trust the process a little bit more, or trust his teammates more, because, he's out there and he gets, very antsy and is all over the place. And, if there's not too much communication that's happening, then he could run the risk of getting into foul trouble sometimes. So I think the discipline aspect of his game is something that he needs to work on. But yeah, if he's just able to just be assigned this one role and focus on that one role, and there's not really, as I said, a whole lot of pressure that comes with that. Certainly not the pressure that other guys on the team have to deal with or carry with them. But if he's assigned this one role and he keeps himself healthy and is able to build some muscle in the process, because, it's not just Noah, but there's other guys on the team that certainly need to build some muscle and to be a lot more stronger. I mean, Modest Bucelis certainly comes to mind, and that's something that he's openly talked about prioritizing during this offseason, and Noah fits into that same category. So yeah, I completely agree. The more that he's able to sort of prioritize this one role and to get better at perfecting that one role, the better he'll be.
You bring up Martis Mazelis there. Look, and just as a sidetrack it, have you guys seen the photos of Martis on how ripped he is now? Like he's not necessarily.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. Yes, I've seen.
Like he's not necessarily getting like bigger in his arms, but like that dude is getting a lot stronger. He's got that frame where he's always going to be like a bit of a beanpole, but he's going to be a lot stronger next season. You can already see it.
Oh yes.
Yeah, there was a picture that was on my timeline, and I'm trying to find it, but I'm coming up blank. But yeah, someone like took a still frame of him when he was working out with Josh Giddey, and he was about to throw down like a big dunk, and someone took a still photo of him, and he was ripped. I was like, holy shit, man. I mean, obviously he has to add, some more mass, but it's clear to me that he's definitely in the gym. It's going to be a slow building process over time, which is the best way. If he were to throw on a bunch of muscle like out of nowhere, it would probably be in the most unhealthy ways if that were to be the case. So properly built muscle that's sustainable and isn't going to slow him down or anything is going to be gradual. It's going to be a slow process, but as long as he's in the gym, then that's a W for the Bulls. And I think that's the case. I agree I'm glad that you guys see it that way with me about Noah Essengate, because I had a couple of debates with people. Like somebody was basically just like, well, as the 12th pick in the draft, you don't care if he's a one-way player. Like that shouldn't be the standard. I'm like, look, dude, you need all kinds of different players to win games. Not everybody is a star player, and not everyone you shouldn't want. If you have 10 people that want to be the star, you're not going to win any games. I mean, it's tough if you've got 3. Look at what happened with the Nets with KD, Durant, or KD, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. I mean, that thing crashed and burned. So, overall, I think that if Noah Essengate can satisfy the role of being our best defender in time, then that's a huge W. Because hell, the Thunder traded Josh Giddey straight up for that player in Caruso. Mm-hmm. So, that's what that's worth. Giving up a guy that has massive potential is because, obviously the Thunder were just, a team that was rich in ball handlers and playmakers. So they were able to make that trade. But, overall, I think, I guess, before we move on from Summer League to the last couple, the other parts of our conversation before we log off here, I want to ask you guys about Jalen Sellers. What did you guys think about Jalen Sellers, how he played, and do you think that there's I know he's on a 2-way deal, but he's not technically taking up one of the contract or roster spots. Do you want to see that happen, or do you want to keep him on the 2-way? Zach?
I think it's kind of, too early to tell at this point. I mean, he showed some flashes of excellence during the Summer League. I mean, almost averaging, close to 20 points per game. He was very versatile. He had great court vision. He was pretty solid on defense. He said it himself that defense is part of his game that he's looking to work on and prioritize, which for the Bulls, if we're going to be honest, is something that they have been lagging for too many years. And so to see a guy like that being able to be open about that and to put a square focus on his defense, because his scoring ability, especially and his ability to score from all spots on the floor, I mean, that's a given for him. So he's got that, lock, stop, and barrel. But for him to emphasize that he needs to work on defense and shown some flashes of being able to defend pretty nicely, I think that's, a plus, certainly for the Bulls. And he also can shoot from the 3-point line pretty well. He has a lot of energy, a lot of tenacity to him, and he seems to gel pretty well with someone like Caleb Wilson. So that's a plus. So I think as far as the 2-way contract is concerned at this point, I think he's still got time to prove himself. I mean, as the season progresses, we'll see what he's made of when he's brought into situations. And so I think it's early to tell, but I think it's promising, to say the least, for him.
For sure. What are you thinking, Troy?
Yeah, Jalen Sellers. Look, I don't know. I'm good with him just being on a 2-way contract and staying with the Windy City Bulls. Like, I don't. We got Josh Giddey, we got Trey Jones. We got enough. Ball. We got Rob Dillingham. Yay.
Yeah, I've seen him more as a 2 guard than maybe a point guard.
Jalen's like Sellers.
Yeah,
because he can score. Because he can score.
Yeah.
That's why you keep him at the 2.
Yeah. I thought he was more of a scorer than a facilitator. Not that he can't facilitate, but that's just how I read his game.
I think I know. I just think we've got enough versatility at those guard spots that we, unless we're getting depleted with injuries, I don't need to see Jalen Sellers playing up with the main roster. Like, I'm good with him being back down with the Windy City Bulls.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely not.
And plus, I mean, if he just sticks with the team, I mean, next year you might not have Dillingham or Okoro, and so if that's the case, maybe that's where he takes his opportunity to make the real roster if he continues to show what he's got. So
that's the point. That's why I was saying earlier that the Windy City Bulls in the G League is more and more, or should be more and more emphasized as that space for development as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are, but even if you can let Swain play some minutes there, just to, because in terms of just trying to build up his offensive confidence, because he's not going to get a ton of looks on offense. If he gets minutes next year, it's going to be like a 10-minute per game role off the bat. I would have to imagine. I don't think he's going to be given a large role. Like, I think the Bulls are going to try to win. I think that's very clear. Thiago Splitter is not going to, obviously development matters, but I think he's going to be mixing that with the desire to win basketball games, especially because the Bulls can't land in that bottom 3. That relegation zone, you want to stay out of it. So,
and you could probably get some better development out of players by actually trying to win anyway. Like, you try to develop winning habits when you're developing these young players. So, yeah, that goes against, I know tanking's finally gone now, but those old tanking days, it's just like, we need a tank so we need to be as bad as we can so we can get the highest odds. I'm like,
so glad that's over.
Those days are over.
Habits. Like that, to me, that's just teaching bad habits to young players, and that it can take a lot of time to get out of. Whereas now, finally, that tanking's done and dusted, and now the players can the organization goes, we want to win every single game because, yes, we want to get to the playoffs and we stay out of the relegation zone. Man, that's such a soccer terminology too. Damn. Now, I'm not a soccer person. I know my timeline's been filled with the Twitter timeline's been filled with the World Cup, and I'm just going, I don't give 2 rats butts, but okay. But yeah, do you get back no, I just lost my train of thought because I spoke about
way to go,
soccer.
Dude. Way to go. You just had to take a shot at soccer,
Hello.
dude. Yeah, come on.
It wraps up this weekend.
Building winning habits.
The soccer gods just struck you, dude. Like, they kicked you, actually. But that's okay. We can move on to the next subject, and that was our 15th and final roster spot. So the Bulls still do have a roster spot. There was some speculation that the Bulls might be trying to peep out someone from the summer league for that spot. That's why I brought up Sellers. But overall, I think that they're more likely to sign someone in free agency. I think it's going to be more of a subtle signing myself, and I do have somebody specifically in mind that I think Troy's going to take. But I'll ask you first, Zach. Who do you think the Bulls should? Do you have anyone in mind for that final roster spot?
Just kind of thinking of it, I mean, it's pretty much up for grabs. I mean, I don't think
the Bulls necessarily need anything.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they should just work with what they got right now, especially like you brought up free agency. I don't think, with who they got right now, I don't know if it's really time for them to sort of rock the boat at this point in time with what they got. I mean, they made great moves in the offseason. They obviously made some great draft picks and promising draft picks. I mean, they got Leonard Miller to agree to a player option or a team option, which, if you ask me, I mean, Rob Dillingham's name has been mentioned from time to time already here on this episode. If you had to choose between Leonard Miller and Rob Dillingham, I'm going with Leonard Miller hands down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's somebody to, invest in for the long haul. So honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think that I think the 15 spot, I don't know if they necessarily need someone else. I think with what they got is promising. It has potential, and it's very much in keeping with Bryson Graham's whole approach to rebuilding in the right way.
They certainly could use one of the two ways. They don't have to sign somebody else. I'm pretty sure they could use Sellers as like that 15th spot if they really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Sellers, out of all those guys, I would say Sellers is the one that you lock up at that 15th spot and keep him as a two-way, because he's someone who needs to jump back and forth and go to the G League when he needs to, and someone who needs to enhance his game, able to work on his defense, as we've talked about already. So I think he's probably the guy that you would want to secure at that 15th spot. And like I said, don't want to rock the boat in terms of looking elsewhere, but Jalen Sellers is someone who it would be a good fit. He obviously, as I said before, he's someone who seems to gel pretty well with the likes of Caleb Wilson onto the floor. I mean, Caleb Wilson was someone who was communicating with him pretty nicely on defense when he was mic'd up during the game. So, I think Jalen Sellers is the guy to look at.
Yeah, definitely nothing wrong with that. So Troy, go ahead. I know you're going to name who I like too, and it's this player. And we'll see. We'll play a game because I think that I know who he's going to say. So I'll say that I think that this player would be a good fit only because you don't have to give him minutes, and it would be in situational moments where you really need to get a stop, and that could be used for Sellers too. But there's a player out there who I think will be very cheap who could fit this role. And without further ado, I believe you're going to say Matisse Thybulle.
Absolutely, Matisse Thybulle. Man, and I know some people go, "Oh, you only want Matisse Thybulle because he's an Australian." Well, actually, no. Technically, he is actually American.
I didn't even know that.
No, he is American. He's just nationalized. He has dual citizenship, so that's why he can play for the Boomers. But no, he is actually from the States. So, it's not. Yes, he does play for Australia, but he's not an Australian. He's just got dual citizenship. But no, Matisse Thybulle, and people tend to forget, it's the last roster spot. It's the 15th roster spot. So people go, "Oh, we don't need this." It's like, just calm your farm. But Matisse Thybulle, throughout his career,
whoever we sign is going to get minutes, and that's not necessarily the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And Matisse Thybulle, you can bring him in for, like you said, situational moments where you need a defensive stop. This guy has been a second team all defense twice in his career.
I didn't know he did that. That's impressive.
Yep. So the last 2 seasons alone, his last couple of years he's been injury riddled, so he has not had much. He hasn't been on the floor very much. So I'll give the grace on that one. He only played 15 games in the 24-25 season and then the last 30 games of last season. But he still averaged at least 2 steals per game. In 16 minutes last season, he averaged 2 steals. You're getting 2 steals in 16 minutes per game. This guy is an elite defender. Okay, two times second all defensive team. This guy is an elite perimeter defender. A career 35% 3-point shooter, so right on league average. The last 2 seasons from Beyond the Arc, yes, again injury riddled, so minimal games played. 45 games played in total. So he's barely played. He's basically played half a season in the last 2 seasons. So we'll give some grace. But in the 24-25 season, he shot just under 44% from 3. On 3.2 attempts a game. Then last season, he averaged 39.8% from three at basically at pretty much the exact same volume from beyond the arc. So this guy can shoot the ball. Now he's not a knockdown like someone that you consider a slight sniper from beyond the arc, but he can hit the three ball. Shay saying in the comments, hold on for a second. If I'm not mistaken, Thibault is recovering from a ligament tear. Don't get me wrong, he could help, but is he going to be? No, he has recovered from that injury. That's why he played the last 30 games of the season. So he has recovered from injury last season. Now, Paddy, being the Portland fan, if he's still in the comments or if he's fallen back asleep,
he probably fell back asleep.
He's probably going back to sleep, lazy bastard. Love you, Pads. We've got to take our drive-bys on Pads every episode. We can't not do it. But like, even Paddy can talk about the impact defensively he would make, what he made in Portland, what he would make in Chicago. I mean, for the 15th and final roster spot, you can't go wrong with adding a defensive menace in Matisse Thybulle. Like, that would be a great pickup for the Bulls.
That's where I'm at with it, is that if they're going to add somebody, like, I don't need it to be a scorer. I want it to be a team player, somebody that if they end up sitting the bench, like where I think Matisse Thybulle can come in handy is not only in situational things on the court, but also in practice. Like, he could his ability to defend that, the way he does on the perimeter would be a good example for Tiago to be like, hey, this is who you guys should be taking after. Like, look at what he does. And with a team so young, I think that would be a valuable player to have.
I'm sorry, Phil. I was just going to say, and he's also cost effective. I mean, because of the fact that he hasn't been able to, or because his playing time has significantly dropped over the last few seasons, obviously his value has dropped as well, which in turn for the Bulls is a plus because that makes him affordable. He doesn't cost a whole lot, and there's a high risk or low risk, high reward factor that comes into play when it comes to him. And then just in terms of scoring, like, you're not going to go to him to score a whole bunch of points. Like, he'll score when needed. Like you said, from the 3-point line, he's somebody that, can score from three when he needs to, not frequently, but when he needs to, and at the right moments in transition, more so specifically. And he does have a lot of length. He does have a lot of size, and he can crash the boards. He can space the floor, certainly, which is conducive for how this team is. They like to run. They like to space the floor, and he just adds another dimension to it. Of course, he needs to remain healthy, obviously, and that's a priority. But I don't have a problem with somebody like Thybulle being able to come in and provide that relief when needed. Like, I can see him maybe averaging, I don't know, like somewhere in between like 6 to 10 points per game, maybe, maybe playing.
His career average is 5.
Right. Yeah. Like averaging 5 points a game for his career, but around that, maybe playing, I don't know, certainly 15, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes per game, something like that. But yeah, I mean, he'll come in at the right time when needed, and, he doesn't cost a whole lot. So yeah, I don't see it being a problem one bit.
And like you spoke about his length as well. Like, okay, so he's 6'5", but he's got a 7-foot wingspan.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, and there's a couple other guys in free agency that could also fit the same role. I know that someone just said Gary Payton II. I think that him, and then there's also Bruce Brown out there. Slightly different players. I still think Matisse Thybulle is the preferable one out of those three, but I would be fine with them too. Somebody that, whose best trait is defense. That would just be preferable.
That's who they need. I'm glad you pointed that out, Phil. They need a defender. They've got enough offensive players to go with, and they're oversaturated with guards to begin with anyway. So they need that defensive player. They need that stopper. They need that guy that can guard the perimeter, especially, or who can guard multiple positions. I mean, we're talking about versatility. I mean, obviously, too much versatility isn't a good thing either. You need those role players, but you need that defensive player. I mean, Gary Payton II, he is one of those guys. But that's who they need more than anything.
And
Yeah.
Matisse Thybulle being at Portland as well knows Tiago Splitter's system
Exactly.
and schemes
That's
as
a
well.
great
So
point. That's
Exactly.
a fantastic point. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, bringing in somebody that Tiago's familiar with and whatnot. That's a fantastic point. And now I really want it to happen because that's an added bonus, man. When you've got somebody on the team that already knows the system, and I mean, it helps with practice. It helps with getting players prepared and everything. So, I'm I'd be a fan of that selection. But make no mistake, I think with the way the Bulls are already assembled, if they just use Jalen Sellers for the 15th spot, that'd be fine too. And I don't think that whoever we sign is going to make or break the Bulls. I think that we've already done some really nice things to improve this team this year, other than just draft. I don't know if we've had you on since we signed Norman Powell, Zach, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on signing him. I thought it was, the way the contract was handled, it being so team friendly with there being a team option after this season. I loved it. What did you think of the Norman Powell signing?
I loved it too. I thought it was well executed. It was well timed. The way that they orchestrated the contract by implementing that team option in there, I thought that was the great way to go. I mean, 2 years, $45 million contract. I thought that was common sense. I thought that wasn't, too out of the ordinary. And you got a guy who is consistent when it comes to scoring, especially from all spots on the floor. And when you're a guy like him and you're able to shoot close to 40% from the 3-point line like he did last year, I mean, you're in good company, to say the least. And he's going to take the pressure off, guys like Giddey and guys like Modis, who certainly do like to shoot the three. He's going to take the pressure off of them. And then also just in terms of veteran leadership, I mean, this is a guy who has seen it all, done it all. And, he's going to be that veteran leader that the guys can go to, especially, since this is a predominantly younger team. So I think, it was great, and he can space the floor. He's, as I said, efficient when it comes to scoring, can shoot the long ball. All in all, I think it's good.
Hell yeah. I love it, man. All right. Well, I mean, it's been a solid hour. We've definitely discussed everything that there is to discuss when it comes to Summer League. We did have a question here. And I'll start with you, Troy. I think that we're all going to have the same answer here, but we'll, we always make sure that we take care of the people in the comments. And so, starting five: Claxton, Wilson, Matas, Powell, Giddey. Is there a different starter in the mix? I don't think there is. I think that's pretty much set in stone.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys have lengthier answers, but I think it's just that's who the starters are.
Yeah, Slayer. No, I think that's the starting lineup. I personally think that's set in stone. I don't see anyone else. I think I've seen something on Facebook, and people who look at this stuff on Facebook, they had Zach Collins starting at the center, and everyone in the comments is like, "Do you not know that Nick Claxton is on this team now? Nick Claxton will be the starting center." So, this lineup is set in stone.
I know somebody out there said Jalen Smith should start over Nick Claxton, and that too. I was just like, "Come on, bro, come on." I know Jalen Smith did some nice things on the offensive end last year, but it's about damn time we had a center that discouraged players from driving the lane, and that's exactly what Nick Claxton's going to bring. He's going to be a defensive anchor for us.
Exactly.
Inside there.
Nick Claxton's been the type of center that Bulls fans have been screaming out for a number of years now, and we've finally got him.
Exactly. Yeah. And Jalen Smith is more, in my mind, much more of a perimeter defender than anything else. And Nick Claxton, locks down the paint pretty handsomely. So yeah, he was a good addition as well. So yeah, I got no qualms with this lineup whatsoever.
Love it. Yeah, man. I think it's worthy to know as far as Claxton goes. I mean, he played his best basketball underneath Tiago Splitter, and I think it's been mentioned by a couple other people, and I've mentioned it, but I think we're really going to see what happens when a player is discouraged after having to play for a tanking franchise for multiple seasons in a row. I think his production was clearly affected by that. They weren't trying to win, and it's not going to be the case in Chicago. I think Nick Claxton's going to be reborn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and people going about Nick Claxton and in that back issue that he had for the last couple of years. But you watch now. Granted, I don't watch Brooklyn Nets basketball because, well, it's the Brooklyn Nets. Based on the highlight reels that you see from Nick Claxton, like some of the stuff, that back doesn't look like it bothers him that much. Like it looks like he can get up and down the floor just fine. His ability to get out and run. If you're dealing with a constant back issue, you can't run like that.
So I won't be surprised. I'm sorry. I was just saying I won't be surprised if all of a sudden his back is just fine.
Yeah.
Right. There's no margin for error at this point when it comes to that. And then also, like, he's very athletic. He's very agile. He can run the floor, as you said, Troy. I mean, the pick and roll, he can do wonders in pick and roll when it comes to, especially with a guy like Josh Giddey or Modest too. I think he was a good addition, and he also has that physicality that the Bulls have been lacking at the 5 spot for so long right now. I mean, Vooch wasn't like that. He didn't have that physicality to him, and Nick Richards didn't have that physicality to him. He was just kind of standing there pretty much, I thought, at some points in time. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was very physical, certainly much more physical compared to Vooch. But Nick Claxton, he has that physicality, and he also has that athleticism to go with it as well.
I've seen melted butter tougher than Nikola Vucevic.
I couldn't believe that guy only got a $5 million contract this offseason. That kind of shows, what the NBA thinks of Vucevic at this point in his career. But, hey, what's up, Brandon?
No, Brandon.
Unfortunately, we're about to sign off here in a second, I know. But hey, just rewind it back.
Go back and watch the whole show, Brendan.
Yeah. Brandon's our guy. He's definitely gonna do that. But before the last thing I wanted to note is someone said to me earlier, and just to get a good laugh, I'll say this. Someone told me that Matas Buzelis, because we I don't know if you guys seen the little dust up, or the one lady from 104.3 The Score brought up how she's curious to see how Matas plays when basically the spotlight's not all on him anymore, and is he still going to be able to be is it going to affect him that Caleb Wilson is getting all this attention, and if the spotlight's not on Matas, will that bother him, and this and that? And he responded, and he was like, "It's a team sport, love. We're all going to shine." And I loved that. But I had made a video about it, but somebody had commented to me, and just to, I would like to know your guys' reaction. He was like, he's saying what he's saying right now, but behind closed doors, you don't know what these millionaires think. And, he's probably not going to get as much playing time this year, and he's already had a chance to be a star. He's not going to be a star. He's Noah Essengay with minutes. And then Leonard Miller might outplay him, and, Leonard Miller wants to be a starter in the NBA. So what happens when Leonard Miller takes Matas Buzelis' starting spot and pushes him down the roster? Thoughts?
Tell me you don't know basketball without telling me you don't know basketball.
Right.
Zach?
This is not Giannis and Bam and possibly LeBron James on the Miami Heat. Like, this is not, the stakes are not insurmountable. The stakes are not that high. Like, this is a team that is developing. This is a team that is rebuilding. This is a team that is trying to get out of this period of stagnation that has plagued them for the last 6 years. So, and it is a team game. And yes, Caleb Wilson is going to get a whole lot of attention, but there's plenty of attention for Matas Buzelis because he has already cultivated a lot of attention in just 2 years going on 3. I mean, his dunks will live on in eternity. I mean, this is a guy who has a tremendous sense of style, flair, and obviously the guy is putting in the works. I mean, he's putting in the work this offseason to try to keep up with the best and has already proven to be an all-star caliber player. So there's plenty of room to go around for this team. and it's not a team with superstars. And that's why I brought up the Heat and, with Giannis and with Bam and with Andrew Wiggins. And, if LeBron goes there, that's a whole nother story. But again, like the stakes aren't that high. This is a team that's rebuilding.
Facts, man. Facts. I mean, Modest Buzelis averaged 18.5 points a game after the trade deadline last year. I think he's going to be just fine.
He's going to be fine, and he kept himself pretty much healthy when Josh Giddey wasn't healthy, when Josh Giddey was hurt, and when those other guys were hurt for that period during the second half of the season. Like, Modest kept himself in pretty much good standing, to say the least, and was pretty consistent, to say the least.
Yeah, and just like that chick on that radio station, because also I don't see it and all that. I can't listen to your radio even if I wanted to. Did they not really think that Martis wouldn't want another superstar playing alongside of him? Like, what, he just wants the spotlight all to himself?
That's what it felt. It felt like, and it's also not it's not like Modest is showing this need to be like a star hungry player. Like, he just wants to work hard, and he's proud to rep for Chicago.
He wants to win.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Like,
I mean, I can tell you firsthand. I got a chance to interview Modest after a game. I asked him about him making or not making the or deciding not to go to the NBA Rising Stars game, or not competing in the dunk contest. Not competing in the dunk contest, because he did compete in the NBA Rising Stars game for the second consecutive season, but he decided to opt out for the dunk contest. And I asked him about all that, and he said that he, just kind of paraphrasing here, he didn't care. Like, he's all about winning and wanting to win games. And if you recall earlier, just right before the season began last year, he wanted to take a shot at the NBA Most Improved Player Award, right? Which was more so an individual goal on his part, but he was someone who wanted to make a name for himself, somebody who wants to, stand out from an individual standpoint. But then as the year progressed, he was someone who prioritized winning basketball games more than anything else over any sort of individual accolades. So, it goes. He's growing in his maturity. Not only is he growing from a physique standpoint, but he's also growing from a mature and attitude standpoint. That says a lot.
Absolutely.
Ooh, jinx. Pitch poke, you owe me a Coke or whatever. Yeah, man. I think that puts a nice bow on everything that we've talked about today. I think there's exciting times ahead for the Chicago Bulls, and I'm pumped, man. Get us to the games. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, depending on how you look at it, we've got plenty more Red Summits before the games start, but it's at least a very, very exciting time to be a Chicago Bulls fan. And I know that I hope it's okay that I'm saying this, but we don't have a date yet. But I know that the next time that Zach comes on, I believe we'll be coming on with Brett.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Okay, yeah. So it's in the works, everybody. But hopefully we can make it happen. And regardless, though, we do appreciate you trying, and very much appreciate you standing in here today for Neil. I know that I'm glad that we it's just like a glove, man. You just put it back on, it fits so well. You fit right in, and you're a great host. So we really appreciate you, Zach. Thank you for coming on today and filling in for Neil.
Anytime. And shout out to Neil, and shout out to you guys, and shout out to everyone who watched and commented.
Hell yeah. Everybody, make sure you go check out Zach's work on ClutchPoints. He writes great articles. He had some exclusives over this past season, I think, with Joakim Noah, and oh God, it was so another legend of the game. Please remind me.
Horace Grant.
Awesome articles to go back, check those out. Zach does amazing work for ClutchPoints, and we're lucky to have him, an actual Bulls fan, being a Bulls beat reporter. I mean, that's what we all hope for, but it's unfortunately not what we always get. So we appreciate you, Zach. You're the man. And everyone, make sure you go check out Troy's stuff as well at Whole Lotta Bull, and my stuff at Chicago Bulls Breeze and the Six Banner Podcast. But until next time, my friends, I know usually we have.
Before we sign it off, Phil, as SpaceGate is doing, go hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Yes, please do. We're grinding towards that 1,000 subscribers. We really appreciate everybody's support. We love doing this for you guys. We're gonna keep doing it. 3 continents, one love. 3 continents normally, just 2 today, but one love. The Chicago Bulls. Everybody, thank you for being here. Until next time, see red, baby.